Hey everybody, happy Freeform Friday. Yes, it is Freeform Friday. I am still at the Beading Dreams, so I have decided to do a torch freeform for y'all tonight. I have a client project that I need to work on, so it's a good opportunity to kill two of the proverbial birds with one proverbial stone. Hi Lori. I was in the process of texting hi Lori, and then I'm like, why don't I just get on and I can say hi Lori? So that's what I decided to do. So my client, who's absolutely a doll, has this really kick-ass meteorite piece. It's one of the ones with olivine in it. I can't remember where those are from, but it's so cool. Not here, exactly. It's such an awesome little rock. So what I think I'm going to try, and then she wants me to make it into a ring. So what I think I'm going to try and do, and we're going to see if this works, is I'm going to take and I'm going to do a bezel on these two sides. I have some concerns about that sharp corner there, but I'll jump off that bridge when I get to it. And then I'm going to do two prongs on this side so that that cool raw edge is still visible, because it's so neat looking. I really don't want to cover that with a bezel. Hi Corvus, it is a legitimate space rock. Also, interesting fact about meteorites, they rust because they're metallic, especially in climates like Texas where it's very, very humid. So I gotta try and get that rust off of there as well. But that's not gonna affect me making the setting, because the setting's gonna have to polish anyway before I can set the stone in it. So I'm gonna need a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so I don't actually have, do I have enough sheet silver on here? Oh, I do have enough silver left on that sheet. That's exciting. Okay, so I've got a 24 gauge silver sheet, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and kind of carve out that area so that I can work with it. And hold on, let's see if we... Better with less light. The camera does not really love the shiny metal. Corvus says she's always wanted a meteorite. How do you trust that they're real? And my answer to that is it's very similar to my answer to a lot of questions like that, which is buy from someone you trust. You know, buy from a reputable dealer. Beware of, any cost that seems too low. Like these ones, this particular style is one of the more expensive styles. The ones that come out of Argentina that are just kind of the little blobby metal bits, those are the least expensive. And then there's, some other ones in between. But yeah, buy from someone that you trust. And if you get a bad feeling, walk away. So right now I'm just kind of making a blobby little cut here, but I want to have just a smaller piece to work off of. And alright, little guy, you go there for now. Okay, so now I've got my meteorite and I've got my piece of silver. Awesome, that is fabulous and perfect. And now I'm gonna grab my bezel strip, and so with your bezel strip you want it to be just tall enough essentially to go up and over the lip of your stone. Of course that one's too short. So because of that, bezel strip, which is what this is, or bezel wire it's also called, comes in, okay, that'll work. And I'm pretty sure that that corner's going to be easier if the bezel strip's not super tall. So I think I'm going to use this one. Pretty sure that this is 1/8. So your most common ones are going to be 1/8 and 1/4, but they also make, this one I think is 3/16, or not 3/16. This one's slightly less than 1/8 of an inch. whatever measurement that is. But I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/4. And I'm just going to cut myself off a piece of it. This piece is going to be too long, but working off of this big old roll of bezel strip is like a huge pain in the butt.
3:30 seconds.
3:30 seconds. There you go. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, math person.
I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. Okay, and so then I'm going to form that bezel basically into an L shape around the sides of my stone. It does not actually have to be on my silver at this point. So I like fine silver bezel strip because it doesn't oxidize. It's also extremely easy to bend, which is helpful. And I'm just going to use my pusher to kind of push it against my stone. So obviously, since there's only two sides to this, like this is not going to do the entire job of, we sell the Argentinian ones. Would you mind grabbing the meteorites for Corvus?
No.
And I threw it on the floor. But at least this one went straight down and not flying off into who knows where. So Corvus, these are our meteorites that we have. So these are the ones from Argentina. Like I said, the least expensive pretty much of all the meteorites you can get. So there's just these kind of cool blobby chunks of space metal, and these are discountable. They're $52 per blob. As far as a dealer I trust, I really don't have one, just because I don't buy a lot of meteorites, but I can ask Emily, the person to whom this meteorite belongs, because she
Bought her own,
and she's very good at buying rocks. She likes rocks a lot. So
also it is pretty difficult to fake a meteorite because they're so heavy, but I'm sure someone could do it.
well, these are, when you get the olivine in there though, like
That's
this
true.
one, it lightens it up a lot. Okay, so that's what I want. I want a nice snug fit there. I think I have like just enough of a lip coming up and over that stone that I'll be able to set it. So now I'm going to mark this and trim it. Or maybe I'll just trim it and not mark it. Camera off of that because I want it to just flush right up to the edge of that stone. And one, make sure you put it on the right way because one side of the stone is longer than the other side. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I might have cut a little more off of this than I intended, but I think it'll still be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my solder board and I'm going to solder this onto this back piece here. So I've got, okay, you know, just move the camera, Allison. I keep like nudging closer and closer to the camera, and like I've got my pile of tools here and everything. It's like, just move the camera. It's not fixed. It does the thing and everything. Today was not a good hair day. Not even close to a good hair day.
Your hair is adorable, so there.
Fine. Heather does not agree.
Don't.
Heather respectfully dissents that I'm having a bad hair day. sure that that will fit.
And my dissent also applies to other hair days.
Okay, so if I just kind of nudge it up into this corner, the meteorite will fit on this piece of silver, which is great. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flux the whole back plate. And then I'm going to set my little half bezel on it. Both sides of this are so cool. I might want to cut a little triangle out of there so that you can see, I mean, you wouldn't be able to see the whole back, but like both sides of this are so freaking neat. Love. Hey, happy Canada Day, Lori.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to take some easy solder and I'm just going to cut 4 pieces of it, and I rediscovered my solder cutting pliers, which I absolutely love. These guys are so fun. You just go squeeze it and you get a perfect little piece of solder. And I'm going to use my tweezers to, okay, really does not like this super shiny metal. Camera, nobody can see anything. You were too bright. Move. Hey, at least it's focused, so there's that. There, okay, that's a little dark, but I think you're actually going to be able to see better at that exposure, especially once I start with a torch. Okay, so I'm going to take my little pieces of solder and I'm going to drop them in there, and what I want to do is I'm going to snug them right up against the point where the bezel meets the back plate. So the reason I was a little late getting on stream tonight, because you know, of course there's always a reason, was not a customer. It was because I'm working on class samples for next week, and there was one that I really wanted to get done so it could go in the tumbler. Also, I did not listen to my own advice, and I grabbed it while it was hot, and now I have curly Q shaped burns in my finger from the curly wire that was very hot. So once again, once you've had a torch going in your work area, from that point forward, always assume that everything in your work area is hot enough to burn you, because it probably is. That is your PSA for this evening's stream. So now I'm going to go ahead and solder those. Yeah, pancakes do sound good. I could actually make pancakes when I get home if I want. I have gluten-free pancake and waffle mix. Actually, I could make waffles too. I could just have all the carbs. So what just happened is my flux boiled and just kind of kicked my pieces out. So I'm just putting them back. If you find when that happens that they stick with the flux that you can't move them, just heat it up a little bit more and they'll move pretty easily. So now I'm going to try and concentrate most of my heat on the back plate, and especially on the outside here, because I want to draw the solder underneath. If you concentrate too much heat on your bezel, it will melt. 100% will melt. Come on, go under. There we go. So my solder is just running along that line, which is called zipping your bezel, is what we typically call it. And you gotta work at it a little bit because your bezel's gonna get hot way faster than your back plate, and so your solder's gonna want to run up your back plate, or sorry, up your bezel wall instead of down on the seam.
As long as it doesn't run down my arm. Like the mascot.
Yes.
That is right out. That will make me scream and run. Actually, I didn't scream. I just stood there and was sad.
There we go. Cool. Alright, there we go. Bezel zipped. So, hey Barb! I am making a setting for this cool little meteorite that belongs to a client. And so my idea, and we're going to see if this idea works, is I'm making a half bezel that's going to cover the two flat sides, and then I'm going to put two prongs here and here so that they'll hold the stone in, but you'll still be able to see this cool curved edge. So we're going to see once again how that works. I've successfully zipped my little half bezel down onto my back plate, so that's a plus. I'm going to let that cool now, and I'm going to make the ring part of it. I'm doing the ring with a piece of wire that I have put somewhere. What's up?
Oh, I was just going to pick a meteorite for Corvus.
There you go. Thank you. So I'm doing the band with 4mm by 1mm rectangular wire, and it's a little sharp on the edges, so I think
Got it.
I think once I make the ring, I'm going to go ahead and do I want to sand it before or after I make the ring?
Put it over here, just in case anyone else wants it.
Okay, we still have 4 meteorites left if anybody else wants a space rock.
Space rock!
Yeah, so it's I think I'm going to sand it before. Yeah, like, so this is what it's like when I'm working. I'm like, wait, what is the order of operations for this problem? There's no, like, there's no, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for soldering or for fabricating things. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, the camera exposure does not like the shiny metal, so I have it set a little low because of that, but this is a little sharp around the edges, so I'm going to go ahead and just sand that down a little bit because I want it to be comfortable on her finger, and this is not the most comfortable of textures right now. So I just have some fine grit sandpaper, and I'm just trying to knock that corner down, round it out a little bit. And I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. Yeah, that's much more comfortable. So I'm just kind of sanding to knock off the corner. I'm just sanding at an angle to the sharp bit. Okay, and so my client wants this to be an 8 1/4. So I'm going to do what I usually do when I'm making rings. I'm going to start up higher on my mandrel, so I'm going to start at around a 6, and I'm just going to wrap that wire around. Hee hee. I know, there's no way it would get there this fast, but I know the feeling. Okay, this I don't think I can do on camera. So the 4x1 is sturdy. It's not super easy to bend. I could pull it off and anneal it, but apparently I am being stubborn tonight. So so I'm just gonna stubborn it instead. Okay, so I've wrapped it around so that it's overlapping, and then I'm just gonna slide it down to my 8 1/4 on my mandrel, which is it's this tick mark right below the 8. Slide that down, and then I'm actually gonna make 2 cut lines here and here, so because this isn't completely round, or I could pound that down with an rawhide mallet, and then I'd have less waste considering the price of silver. I think I'll do that instead. Oh my Lanta! So we went through and reviewed all of our wire prices, which I haven't changed in literally like 15 years.
No, it's been less than that. We did change them.
Oh, did we?
Once.
Once. Okay, I've changed once in 15 years. And oh my god, gold-filled wire is stupid expensive. I'm going to be doing a lot more work with bronze in the future. Alright, so then, and now if I mark straight down, I'm actually going to have an angled cut, so I'm going to just kind of make myself a little dot there, and then I'm going to do my best to draw a line that's perpendicular to the actual wire. And apparently I'm going to draw on myself with a marker. And then I'm going to, I'm not going to put that away because I am going to need it. I'm going to cut with my flush cutters, and I want to cut right on that line, and I want to make sure that I have the flush side of my cutters facing towards the part that's staying. So snip that. Okay, so there we go. That's my ring blank. Then I'm going to go ahead and open that up and just do a little bit of filing so that my edges will line up and meet flush. Oh, yay for getting your craft room back. That's awesome. Alright, so just make sure those are lined up. And make sure you can't see any space when you hold it up to the light. So there's my joint right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solder that closed. So we're going to flex it. And grab another piece of easy solder. So there's my little tiny snippet of easy solder, and I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm going to put that underneath my ring. And then solder that closed. So I'm just heating the whole ring. This whole thing's got to get hot. And then I'll concentrate on the joint until that solder flows up and into the joint. There we go. Alright, and I just realized that I actually have a cup of water here, so I can fix that. Sorry. It's okay. Alright, and then I'm going to put that back on my ring mandrel and use my rawhide mallet to round it out. Yeah, the pandemic definitely did nothing for my house cleaning. Oh, it's too big, dang it. It's like, it should be sitting right on top of that, and it's below it, so that means it's an 8 1/2, not an 8 1/4. So when that happens, we cut and resolder. So the difference in length from a quarter to a half is very, very small. So we're not going to take off much metal at all, but I'm just going to cut right where I soldered. And then I'm going to do my best to just nip off that part that's gotten pointy from my wire cutters. We're going to refile and resolder. Don't fall. At least at this point it wasn't going to fall on Heather, it was just going to fall on the floor.
Well, thank goodness for that.
So one of our clients apparently just had surgery and was apparently on some really good drugs, because she was rewatching The Sale from Wednesday, I believe it was, or what, she was rewatching one of the sales, and then she texted Heather, "Invoice me, baby, woohoo!"
It was awesome.
It was very funny. That's fair. Okay, more solder, more fire. This is where we're at now. So Corvus, I am not gonna put a crown for you on this week or this upcoming week. I'll put it on the following week because my soldering project is also a headpiece, and it's going to be really hard to display two headpieces on our display for classes. So, have not forgotten about you. I have a really pretty wire wrapped crown picked out to teach, but it won't be on next week's stream. It'll be on the week after that. So don't feel like I've forgotten about you. So once again, just heating the whole piece, and then I'm going to concentrate, and there we go. And you can just see it, which is pretty cool. Since solder flows towards heat, you can actually make it flow counter to gravity, which is really cool, I think. Okay, and now we're going to check. Alright, I think that when I pound it out will be perfect. So I'm just going to use my rawhide mallet to pound that out and make sure that it is round, because if you look at it this way, you can kind of see that it's, yeah, you really can't because the camera's not focusing, but it's not round. I can see light between the ring and the mandrel. You shouldn't be able to do that. So, time for the pounding. So, use a rawhide mallet when you want to shape something, but you don't want to texture it and you don't want to change the size of it. So, now I have my round ring. Okay, and now I get to the sticky part of how am I going to cut this so it doesn't look crappy. Because sometimes when you try and cut an irregular edge, it just, I might have to bust out the saw and saw it, honestly. Because the shears just do not do a good job on irregular edges
You're so good with a saw.
So what I'm going to do is trace the edge here with a Sharpie. Okay, so that's my cutting line. And then I think I am going to cut out a triangle so that you can see the back of the meteorite. Well, that's going to make it hard to put it on the band. Let me ponder for a moment. It's my pondering face. Okay, I think I'm actually going to save this band for another project. So the dilemma here is, so if I have my band and I'm going to attach the meteorite right in the middle here, there needs to be metal right in the middle of the setting. If I cut out the piece so that you can see the back of the meteorite, there won't be metal in the middle of the setting, but this client really likes lower rings. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make another band that will connect just here and here, so it won't be a full round band. Yes, go ahead. So it'll only be a 3/4 band, but since I already made this one and it turned out really nice, I'm just going to save this one and make another one for this. So kind of something on the order of this, but without the little up here. And no, I still haven't found that stupid piece of silver. Okay, so now I think I am gonna go grab my saw and I'm gonna saw that, and I'm gonna go ahead and just run over to my flex shaft and pre-drill myself a hole for that piece I'm cutting out the back. So I'll be right back. So, hi Smee. So anytime you're piercing, which is what they call it, when you are cutting a piece out from the middle of a piece of metal, you need a hole. See, that's a hole right there that I just drilled, for you to thread your saw blade through. So I actually think, which one do I want to do first? I think I'm going to do the outside first. So I'm going to remember how to work my bench pin, and I'm going to clamp that onto the table. Tighten it up. Alright, so there's my bench pin. Get a little bit more light on it. I mean, who says we don't? Bead girls gotta make their money somehow. I don't know, Amy. This has been the only day this week that I actually did know what day of the week it was, all day. Okay, so now when you're sawing on a bench pin, okay, sorry, you're not going to be able to see it very well, but I don't want to change the focal distance, because then I'm never going to get it back. So when you're sawing on a bench pin, you see this V slot here, and what you're going to do is you need to support your work from either side of that V slot. If you just bring it over to one side or the other, you're going to get a lot of extra vibration and just a little bit more light on there at least. You're going to get a lot of vibration, and you're going to get a lot of breaking of your saw blades. So I've got my saw blade loaded. This is a 2/0 saw blade. Clawing in the streaming area is always super fun because there's like no room at all. So I'm just gonna follow my little regular line that I drew. So, I mean, really, saws are so much better for precise cutting than shears are. I mean, jeweler saws are frightening to some people because they do take a little bit of practice to learn how to use them. You're going to go through a lot of broken blades and frustration until you get good with a saw, and it's not a journey that everyone necessarily wants to make, but trust me, it is your best tool for getting precise cuts. Okay, so keep your fingers away from the front of the saw blade when you get to the end of their cut, because it's going to jump, like so. See how it jumped forward and hit that? And if it just jumps forward and hits your finger, that's no big deal, but if it happens to jump forward while you're on a downstroke, that's when you need to make sure your tetanus shot is updated. Bye, Lori. Have a good supper. Okay. So now I also need to cut off these edges outside my bezel. And I could do that with shears, or I could do that with my saw, since I have my saw here. So as far as the next week classes go, I think I'm going to do a refresher on purl knotting with bullion. And then I have, like I said, I've got a soldered headpiece, and then I've got a wire cool variation on an ear cuff. It's not actually an ear cuff. It actually like curls, wraps around the back of your ear and comes down the front and up here, which I think is going to be really fun. And then the soldered headpiece. And then there will be no tutorial next week, Saturday night, because I'm actually taking myself on a tiny mini vacation to Houston to see some friends that I haven't seen in like 15 years. By the way, so that's my bezel cut off. So see, you can just get really close in there with your saw. And then I'm going to cut the other side. There will be a sale. Heather will be working the sale. Savannah, our new girl, will also be working the sale, but she's a little shy of being on camera, so you will hear her, but you won't see her. Which is fair, being minor. Alright, so that one I didn't get quite as close, so I'm going to have to file that a bit, but it's still, like, there's still hardly any, and then I need to file off the corner here. Okay, now I'm going to cut the piece out of the center. So to do that, I'm going to take my saw blade and I'm going to unload it from my saw. I'm going to thread it up through the hole that I drilled, and then I'm going to reload it in my saw. And then I'm going to cut out that little triangle that I drew in the center. corners are always a pain in the butt. And also, as your piece gets smaller, you can see it's a bit more of a struggle to hold it. Especially because that corner keeps stabbing me. That one right there. So when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure that you leave enough metal for your piece to rest on. So I left a solid 1/8 of an inch of metal there. I'm just going to cut, and I'm not going to try and match the edge on this. I'm just going to kind of cut a rounded triangle shape. Stabbing me again. So I meet up with the other end of my triangle. Come on, stay on. I just have one more cut. Stay on the table. Nope. Sorry, my Benjamin is trying to escape. So it's easier to see on the back what the cut looks like. You can see the cuts that I've already made. So now I'm just going to come back and meet up with this corner here. Okay, seriously. Turn, now I just have to go straight away. Okay, really stupid bench pin. Sounds good. Definitely sounds good. I'd eat that. Okay, finally did it. So, right? Come on, Amy, bring us ice cream. You said it, so now you have to do it. Okay, so that is my setting thus far. That was just lipstick on my fingernail. Though I think I melted my fingernail a little bit when I burned myself, because it's got this dip now that it did not have before. And this is another reason why I wear glue on nails instead of spending the money on acrylics, because when I do crap like that, I can just pop it off and put another one on. Okay, so now it's time to file. So I'm just going to take and file this edge smooth. Which I guess it shouldn't take very long because I cut pretty close with the saw. And then I'm going to file off that corner because that is stabby and unhappy. Nobody likes it when the jewelry stabs them.
Well, you, it's gone.
Yes, it's true. I could also do this with a sanding disc, so I don't necessarily have to do this with a hand file, but since it's not a whole lot of cleanup work, it's a little easier for me to grab the hand file than to put a sanding disc on the Dremel. So when you're filing, what you want is you want to file until the seam line goes away. So like that part's good, but these two parts need a little bit more work. And then I'm going to grab a half round file. And I'm just going to use a half round file to do a little bit of cleanup here. See how I didn't quite get that as clean as I would have liked it. So we're just going to go ahead and file that. So if you're gonna make an error while sawing, or if you feel yourself veering off in the wrong direction, it's always better to leave more metal because you can file it off. If you cut too much metal, you know, then you've got to find some innovative way to disguise that, or you're just gonna have to start over because you can't just say grow back metal and have the metal grow back. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. Okay. So that's my cleaned up little triangle there and my cleaned up bezel. Now we're going to see if the stone actually sits in there like I wanted it to. All the little goop in there. And then you can see the underside of it a little bit as well. Alright, so now it's time to solder two prongs. I'm going to use 18 gauge wire for those. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to file a little notch in there at each of those marks. If I can find a square file. Oh, that's not a file, that's a crochet hook. I am in desperate need of organizing my work drawers. Like, really desperate need. Anyone want to come organize my work drawers? I'll pay you in beads. Alright, there we go. So I just needed an edge file, so either square file or a triangle file. I found a square file. See how it's got corners? And so I'm just going to take my file and I'm just going to set the corner on that mark, and I'm just going to file a little notch. And yes, I am sawing my file back and forth, and when I'm notching something I usually do because it's really hard to get it reseated every time. notch needs to be big enough that my 18 gauge will kind of slot into it. So that's pretty good. I don't care if my 18 gauge like bumps out a bit like that. I just want to give it a nice seat on the metal. So whenever you're making prongs or, you know, trying to attach a piece of wire to a piece of sheet metal, awesome. Corvus is gonna hop a flight and come organize for me. Yay! Anytime you're soldering wire onto sheet metal, I mean, yes, you can just straight up like just solder the wire, bam, onto the sheet metal, but you're always gonna get a better connection and a stronger connection if you give it some kind of, you know, seat in which to sit. Like for this ring, which is what I was doing when the ring ran away, in this tutorial, is there I actually drilled holes and soldered the wire into the holes. So it also incidentally makes the project a little bit easier to construct because you're not just sort of trying to plop your wire on top of there, you're giving it someplace to rest while you solder it. So I'm going to cut 2 prongs from my 18 gauge wire. I'm going to make them longer than I need because I can always cut them down. So I'm going to cut about, that's like a generous 1/2 inch, maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch. I cut 2 pieces of 18 gauge. Don't have to worry about flush cutting these because we are going to be cutting them again. And press them into my fire brick, which is my soft soldering surface, so I can stick things into it. 1 at each notch. Try very hard not to stick the wire into your thumb. Ask me how I know. Alright, and then we're going to flux that and we're going to solder those in place. So that's 2 more pieces of easy solder. And then I think I'm going to do my band with extra easy. Well, that piece of solder is on the floor now. Just kind of drop them in place. Oh, Corvus, Heather is leaving for Houston tomorrow because it's her niece's birthday. So she won't be here tomorrow. So if you actually did hop a flight right now and come visit us, Heather would miss you and that would make her sad. Okay. Need to refill my torch. So with these butane torches, there are no regulators or anything. So how you tell when you need fuel is your flame starts getting shorter and shorter and shorter, which mine is. And as I keep adding more and more metal onto this piece, having a flame that is smaller is not going to do me any favors. See, it's much more vigorous now. Alright, so that piece of solder there, it nudged its way out of place. So I'm just going to nudge it right back into place. And there we go. Bingo. Easy as pie. Solder board. Okay, so now I'm going to make another ring band. This. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which starts with finding my wire. Oh, I'm going to sand it again. you know, if you just texted us and were like, hey, I'm at the airport, come get me, we totally would. There might be a battle as to who gets to come and get you, frankly. Who gets to be the first to actually meet the Corvus in person? Yes, you can. I will cook gluten-free for you your entire visit. And if you want to brave the Ziggy, you can crash on my couch. I don't have a proper guest room because I usually only have...
It's a very improper one. Rude, naughty.
What's rude and naughty? Oh, my guest room. Yes. Yeah, because I literally have, you know, overnight company like 5 days out of the year. My mother, no, reverse that. My father and my stepmother come to visit, and so I was like, I'm not sacrificing all of this space to a guest room for 5 nights. I'm like, I can sleep on the couch for 5 nights a year. And so it's my office and crafting space, which I use way more often than I would use a guest room. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm actually going to make a full round band like I did before, and then I'm going to cut the middle out of it. So I just bent it, marked it, and I'm going to cut it again. And I'm not going to bother filing these cuts because I'm about to make 2 more cuts. So there's literally no point in wasting that time. So my fabrication clients sometimes get really antsy for their work, which is not surprising because, you know, like Lori's excited to have her beads, everyone's excited to have their new piece of jewelry, but, you know, sometimes I'm like, you really don't know how involved this is. Like, it actually involves me sitting still in one place for a minimum of an hour, which in regular business days doesn't happen that often. Okay, so now we're going to figure out where we are going to cut this. And how do I want this little baby to sit anyway? Okay, so how do I want it to sit on her finger? Like, do I want to go, you guys can vote if you want to. Okay, do I want to go like square, like that, or do I want to go on the diagonal, like this? I'm leaning towards the diagonal. We do whoosh past each other all the time, which is actually nice because there was quite a while where there was a lot of sitting. The whooshing tends to make money happen. Yeah, alright, I think I'm gonna go diagonal with it. So that means it's going to attach, at this point and this point. I'm sorry, I don't think I can actually hold this on camera and do this marking properly. And so I actually can save myself a little bit of effort by moving that cut off center, so I actually only have to make 1 new cut. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to sit down and problem solve when you never get to sit for more than, you know, 2 minutes at a time. It's like you just start to wrap your brain around the problem and then you have to go whoosh again. Okay, so now I've made this into like a 3/4 band. So, And now I'm going to file, but I'm going to file slightly differently than I did before, because this is going to attach onto my ring. Right, it's going to attach like so, which means that I don't need these edges to be flat. I need this top edge to be flat. So I'm going to file that edge. So I'm just going to take my file and I can just go actually across both of them, because we need the same angle on both, and what we need is just for them to be flat against that file when we're done. I know, sorry, everybody's favorite noise.
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad. I bet it's louder on the microphone. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Just twist it a little bit. Oh, and I should just double check and make sure that this is actually the size I need. Oh, it is not. It is a size 9. That is too large.
There you go.
Alright, so I'm gonna cut. So what I should have done is I should have sized it before I started to file. That's about right. Oh, thank you, Smee. These were from, these were the lunchtime tutorial on Thursday. That's gonna work. Okay, back to filing. And I put them in my ears, and then I took them home, and then I was in a terrible rush this morning, and so they were right there on my dresser, and so I shoved them in my ears.
Yes, they do have leather.
Yes. They do. And they're super simple. I mean, I actually, I had technical difficulties on Thursday. I started late on purpose, actually. That was a purposeful decision on Thursday, because I know how quick this project is, and I would have been all good except for my stream got cut off after I had started it. And so then I had to reboot everything and get back online, and I still finished the project by 1 o'clock. So they're literally 15-minute earrings. Still filing.
Oh, this is not a box for rye. This is bourbon.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, well, I was going to take the rye down to Jeff because he likes rye, and I like rye. But I don't have one of those here.
Got it. Okay, so see if I keep moving my soldering board over because the light bouncing off of it makes it easier to see. So see how this one over here by my thumb that I'm kind of wiggling, see how that fits nice and flush? That one's good. Need to do a little bit more filing on the other one though. So this is what the top of that ring band looks like now. See that angle? So this is the good one. This is the one that needs more work. I did not sell the strand of Baroque Rondelle pearls, Smee. I mean, I sold it to myself, but I can unsell it from myself and sell it to you. Okay, so we are coming down to the home stretch. I know this has been a little longer stream than expected. No, they do not Smee. They are not large hole. These are large hole. We have large hole pearls though.
We do.
Okay, so now I'm going to flip this over and put it face down into my fire brick. Just shove it all the way down. So So that'll hold it so that I can solder this band on. I'm going to flux the back. I'm just going to flux the whole back. And then I'm going to sweat some solder onto the back of this. And we're going to see if we can, no, we're not. We don't want to futz anything up. We're going to use extra easy solder for this last part.
Would it be okay with you if I took the box for bourbon down to Jeff?
Of course.
Okay. At least catch up on part.
Alright, so solder there, and solder here, like so, and then I'm going to heat it until the solder flows. And the reason I'm using extra easy is I don't want to blow these prongs while I'm doing this last bit. Because it's super frustrating when you're at the last step and all of a sudden something you did at the beginning falls off your dang project. Okay, so I'm going to grab a cross-locking tweezers so that I can hold this easily. So this is a cross-locking tweezers. It is a very handy little tool. Instead of squeezing it to close it, you squeeze it to open it, and then it will spring closed on its own. So it's a great thing for holding stuff because you don't have to think about holding your tweezers closed. Also, this one has fiber grips, so I can solder with it as much as I want and my fingers aren't going to get burned, which is good because this one already did today. Alright, so let me just figure out the best angle of attack for this, which is probably that. Damn it. There went the prongs. Sorry, that was completely not on camera either. But yeah, I just screwed up the prongs. So I'm going to have to resolder those on in a minute. I think I'm going to try and get this band on first though. So the band is on, so now I'm going to quench that, and I'm just going to set it back up where the prongs are, and theoretically they should just notch back in there nicely. And I'm going to add a little bit more solder on there just because there should be enough solder on those prongs to put them back in, but you know, at this point better safe than sorry, because if I have to heat this too much, the band's going to fall off. So I'm just going to plop some extra, I'm going to reflux, and then I'm going to plop some extra easy solder on there. that is the other. Yep. Ta-da! So the last thing I'm going to do tonight is clip the prongs, and then it's going to go in the tumbler, and then after it's done tumbling, then I will set the stone. So the prongs on the bottom of the piece just get cut flush. This is for this little meteorite, Amy, that belongs to a client. And that's why I only did the half bezels, because I don't want to cover up this really cool raw edge of the meteorite. Okay, and then I will probably go in with a file and just file those down so that they're flush. And then I need to cut the top prongs as well, but I need to put the meteorite in there to do it, and this setting is wet right now because I just quenched it. So I'm actually going to tumble it first, and then I'm going to cut those top prongs because that way I can let it dry. Okay, so that's it. It was a little over an hour to make this setting in sterling silver for the meteorite ring. As usual, I forgot to mark it. Really need to get a bent 925 stamp so I can mark them after the fact, because I never ever remember. But yeah, so that's it. That's the project. So, you know, looks a little gross now, but I'm going to tumble it up, and then I'll probably cut the prongs and set the meteorite tomorrow, and I will post a picture on Discord when it's all done. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me for this Freeform 5-day stream. Sorry it ran a little late, but I am excited that I actually finished this project for this client who is adorable and patient, but nobody's patience is endless, so she will be very happy to have her meteorite ring. So that's it for me tonight. Don't forget, we will be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream tomorrow with a tutorial. We're going to do tin cup knotting tomorrow, so that's one we haven't done in a while, and then we'll have another knotting tutorial next week of how to do just straight purl knotting with bullion, which is something we haven't done in quite a while either. So tomorrow is going to be tin cup knotting, followed by a live merchandise sale. We I will be Hibiso tomorrow. I will not be Hibiso next Saturday, the 9th. That's when I'm going on my little road trip to Houston.
So you're missing at least one of us for the next 2 Saturdays.
It's true.
I will be at least on the internet.
Yes. Yes, Heather will be on the internets with us tomorrow, working remotely from Houston, and then Heather will be running the sale next week, Saturday the 9th, and Savannah will be taking notes and doing Heather's job, while Heather's doing my job, while I am on vacation. So, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with tin cup knotting, followed by a live merchandise sale. We're unpacking all of those CZ Pave charms, so there's definitely going to be more of those on stream tomorrow night, plus whatever other fun stuff I can dig up. So everyone have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with me a little bit later than usual, and I will see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, tomorrow at 6. Bye!